There are two schools of thought when it comes to relationships. Some people say that all relationships take work, that they're hard, that that's simply part of it, that you can't expect two people to come together and join their lives without that work, without that effort. And then there's the opposing camp, and they say that if it's right, it shouldn't be work. If it's work, it's because it's the wrong relationship for you. So which is right? Well, I think the truth, as with so many things, isn't all in one side or the other. It's not so clear cut. Because the truth is that relationships do take effort on both parts. But there's also times that that effort is a sign that maybe it is too much and that the relationship isn't right. So how can you tell the difference? So all relationships go through periods of ebb and flow. There's going to be times when you feel more connected and times when you feel sort of disconnected, with one or both of you is withdrawn. That's normal. A sign that perhaps you're working too hard is instead of a gentle ebb and flow, it's more like the extreme highs and lows of a roller coaster, where it's either extremely, extremely good or it's completely terrible. That's not a healthy relationship. In fact, that's often a sign of an abusive one. So if your highs are in the sky and your lows make you wonder if you can even get out of bed, maybe it's time to move on. In every relationship, there's going to be times or situations where one person feels like they're putting in more effort than the other. Maybe you get tired of feeling like you're doing more around the house, or you do more to carry the family financially. Yet in a healthy relationship, at the end of the day, you feel like you work as a team. Even though one person may have to pick up the slack sometimes, overall, you're in this together. When it's unhealthy, when you're working too hard, is when you not only feel, but you can see, there's evidence that you are the one that's putting in all of the effort, all of the energy. And when you bring it up with your partner and ask for change, they're completely dismissive, or they refuse to put forth any effort, or they pay it lip service and then never follow through. Because the fact of the matter is, if somebody's refusing to work on the marriage, if somebody is refusing to put forth any effort whatsoever, there's not a whole lot that you can do. All couples have disagreements. All couples have disagreements that sometimes will get ugly. Yet in a healthy relationship, there are known boundaries that are rarely crossed. And once the argument has died down and cooler heads prevail, each person is willing to apologize, to take responsibility, and to move on. Disagreements are a blip, but not a constant. But in relationships that are too hard, well, not only do those disagreements come more often, but they tend to be more brutal. Boundaries are often crossed, harsh words are spoken, and never apologized for. You may get a sense that you're walking on eggshells so that you don't infuriate your partner. And after the argument is past, well, there's no progress. It's just an argument for argument's sake, not to learn how to work better together. We all have things that we dislike about our partners. You know, the way that perhaps they leave a mess strewn about behind them, or they're always late for appointments, or that they're too particular. That's normal. That's to be expected. It's impossible for you to completely love 100% of something about another. But when it's too hard, well, that dislike starts to turn into disgust. And maybe you find yourself embarrassed about them or contemptuous about the way that they behave or the way that they are towards others or towards you. And perhaps even more telling is when instead of disliking things in them, you realize that when you're around them, you begin to dislike things in yourself. That's a sign that you might be working too hard. It's normal to question your relationship sometimes, to let your mind wander on those daydreams of what would my life be like if I was single or if I was with this other person, and to question, did I make the right decision all of those years ago? But if you start to go down that trail quite often, if you seriously start to question your decisions on a more and more frequent basis, that might be telling you something. It's normal to question and to wonder sometimes, but it's not a good sign if you're always having to fight that question. All couples benefit from spending some time apart. Maybe it's as simple as looking forward to your partner's occasional business trips when you get the house to yourself, or enjoying that activity that you do without them. It's totally okay. You are your own person, and there's no law that says that you have to share every moment and every experience with them. But a sign that it's too hard, well, that's when you can't wait for them to leave. That's when you get that little sinking feeling in your stomach when you hear the garage door and you know they're about to walk in. When you feel like you're more you when you're away from them than when you're together. Ultimately, staying together requires more effort than getting together. Relationships are not easy, but at the same time, they also shouldn't be that hard. Pay attention to where your energy is going. Is your energy going into growing together as a couple? Or is your energy going towards trying to make this work, trying to fit that square peg into a round hole? Ultimately, only you can make the decision if it's time to try harder or if it's time to walk away.